When I first started hunting for a home theater projector, I kept seeing the same story pop up in the comments. People splurge on a bargain basement model, set it up, and within a few weeks the picture looks washed out, the colors drift, and the whole thing feels like a compromise they'll regret. It's a classic buyer's remorse scenario. Cheap alternatives promise a big screen experience but end up delivering a dim, grainy blur that looks better on a phone. So the question I kept asking myself was whether the NexiGo Aurora Pro MKII could actually be that smarter purchase. The sort of middle ground that avoids the disappointment of a cut-price unit while still keeping the price reasonable enough for most living rooms. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Aurora Pro lands in a crowded segment, 4K laser projectors that tout HDR, Dolby Vision, and a sleek all-in-one package with a 100-inch Fresnel screen. What separates it from the pack isn't a brand-new chip or a flashy design. Those claims are everywhere, but how the hardware works together in real life. The biggest draw for me was the ALPD 5.0 laser engine paired with a 0.21:1 throw ratio. In theory, that means you can sit the projector a foot or so from the wall and still fill a 100-inch screen, which is perfect for apartments or tighter home theater rooms where you can't afford a dedicated projection booth. I set the unit up in a 12 by 14 foot living room with about 30% ambient light coming from a large window. The Fresnel screen that ships with the unit is a thin, matte fabric designed to reject about 85% of that ambient light. After hanging the screen at eye level, I ran the calibration routine built into the projector. The Scene Adapt engine kicked in automatically, adjusting contrast and color temperature as the light conditions changed throughout the afternoon. What surprised me was how quickly the picture retained its punch when the sun shifted. The blacks stayed deep and the highlights didn't blow out, which is a common problem in budget laser projectors that lack dynamic dimming. Now, let's talk about who would actually benefit from this setup. If you're a movie buff who watches 4K content on streaming services like Netflix or Disney Plus and you already have a decent sound system, the Aurora Pro gives you a large, bright image without needing a dedicated dark room. The integrated 60-watt speakers with Dolby Atmos are a nice bonus for casual watching. Think of it as a good enough audio solution for a living room where you don't want a separate receiver. It also works well for gamers who want a larger canvas for console titles, especially since the laser engine handles rapid scene changes without the rainbow effect that older DLP units sometimes show. On the flip side, if you're a hardcore audiophile who expects a surround sound experience that rivals a dedicated home theater receiver, the built-in speakers will feel underwhelming. The 60 watts are loud enough for background music and dialogue, but they lack the directional precision of a true 5.1 or 7.1 system. Likewise, if you plan to use the projector as a primary TV in a bright kitchen or a sunlit family room, the ambient light rejecting screen will improve the image, but you'll still notice a bit of washout compared to a wall-mounted OLED TV. The projector's brightness, while solid for a dimmed room, hovers around 2,800 lumens, enough for most indoor use, but not a guarantee against strong daylight. One practical strength that showed up during my week of testing was the ease of switching between video sources. The Aurora Pro includes HDMI 2.1 ports, a USB-C input, and even supports wireless casting via Roku's built-in platform. I could pull a 4K HDR movie from a Blu-ray player, then instantly flick to a PC for a work presentation without any lag. The projector's dynamic iris and laser dimming handled the transition smoothly. There was no flicker or noticeable pause, which is a nice touch for anyone who uses the device for both entertainment and occasional productivity. However, I did encounter a hidden trade-off that's easy to overlook: the unit's heat management. Because it's a compact laser projector, it relies on a built-in fan that runs continuously. In a quiet viewing environment, you'll hear a low hum that becomes more noticeable during slow, dialogue-heavy scenes. It never drowns out the audio, but for those who love absolute silence in a home cinema, it's a small nuisance. The fan also means the projector needs a bit more clearance from the wall, about 4 inches, to ensure airflow isn't obstructed. That's something to keep in mind if you're mounting it on a shelf that's already packed with decor. Another nuance worth mentioning is the lamp-free laser maintenance claim. While it's true that the ALPD laser doesn't have a traditional bulb that needs replacing every few years, the laser module does have a finite lifespan, typically quoted around 20,000 hours. For most users, that translates to a decade of regular use before any degradation is noticeable, but it's